This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Daws.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning to you.
Or whatever day it is you're listening to this, watching this.
How are you, my learned colleague? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, we were just
Good.
having a little chat there before we started recording, weren't we, about lockdowns and what have you, and trying to work out when we can actually be back in the same room / garden / square mile again.
Well, we're just about in the square mile.
Yeah, just about. But we reckon that end of March we should be able to, weather permitting, gather in my garden as two households. So we should be able to do an episode from the 29th of March. As I read it, we should be able to record together, which would be nice. The Partners in Crime tent can come out, weather permitting, of course.
And I'm sort of going to insist that you actually open up your barbecue as well. Albeit you can't have a big party, but you can certainly cook me a burger.
Yeah, we could have burgers and sausages while we're doing it, couldn't we?
God, that'd be absolutely marvellous. Can you imagine Partners in Crime in Smellorama? If only.
Yeah, scratch and sniff.
Awesome. Yes, all right till you come to the onions. Right, so hello everyone, and welcome to Partners in Crime for another thrilling ride through this week's crime thriller fiction, both in books and on the screen. I've got several things to talk about, but I'm going to allow you to kick off, Mr. Croft.
Oh, thank you. Well, we always tend to start our episodes by saying thank you to our patrons, and especially to new patrons who have joined in the last week. And this week, we have another new patron, Estelle Golding. Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Hello, Estelle. Thanks for joining.
I know Estelle's name because she's a very, very keen reader of mine, actually. So, yes, thank you very much for coming over to the Partners in Crime fold. If you're not aware of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick sell on it, basically. Existing patrons, by the way, your brand new book of the month, because it is now March, should be, by the time you watch this, if not shortly afterwards, in your Patreon dashboard. And the book of the month this month is The First Lie by Virginia King. I can hear my voice going, that's very weird. It's the first book in the Secrets of Selkie Moon series. Here's the blurb. That's what we do. We just read it out. Selkie Moon is a woman on the run. Hawaii is her refuge until the ghosts of the past come knocking. 33 years ago, Selkie Moon lost her mother. Then young Selkie began to feel things, invisible things. So her stepmother shut her in the bathroom until they were gone. Now, in a mad dash for freedom, Selkie has reclaimed her birth name and escaped her controlling family to rebuild her life in Hawaii with the help of some quirky new friends. But her refuge begins to unravel until she's running from something else entirely. It's a great book. It actually crosses a few genres, not just crime and thriller, but also women's fiction and sort of coming-of-age things. So, yeah, well worth the read, that one. It's in your dashboard, details on how you can get that if you're a Patreon member. Usually $3.99, but yours completely free. And our patrons get early access to every episode of Partners in Crime. They get to watch it in full HD video as well, so they can see Bob fiddling with his phone now while I'm talking.
It's all going in. I'm not missing a word of what you're saying. And I'm also vaguely interested, which isn't always the case, as you well know.
Well, maybe he's signing up. Maybe that's what he's doing on his phone. You also get access to an extra bonus episode each week, Partners in Crime Arsenic and Downward Lace, which we film after the main episode. And, of course, that shout-out on the show that Estelle had a few moments ago, and free books, exclusive content, and so on and so forth. So head over to patreon.com/Partners in Crime podcast, or follow the link in the show notes. And thank you for helping support us and keep us on air, whether that's a good thing or not. I don't know.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, sorry about that. That was a little rude of me, I must admit, but I suddenly remembered something rather urgent. And I had so much confidence in the fact that you were actually just explaining that marvellous sounding book. I had time out for 10 seconds. Anyway, it didn't work because I'm none the wiser because I couldn't find what I was looking for. Now, I'm going to stick it to this week's TV crime fiction tip when I'm delighted to see the return of ITV's McDonald and Dodds, which is back for another 3 series. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. It has a marvellous cast. led by Jason Watkins and Tala Gouveia as McDonald and Dodds. We mentioned it last year, of course, glowingly, and I'm going to do it again. But before I do that, I think Rebecca Nicholson in The Guardian sums it up a lot better than I can. I will add to this at the end. The likeable odd couple crime series McDonald and Dodds, ITV, is back for a second run for audiences watching the old-fashioned way as it's broadcast on television. It could not stand as more of a contrast to BBC One's Bloodlands, which we mentioned on Partners in Crime last week, its main opponent in the schedules. This is British crime drama with a cartoonish glow, and it is practically allergic to bleakness. I never go anywhere without my latex gloves, says D.S. Dodds, played by Jason Watkins. Now, if Watkins had delivered the sentence in Line of Duty, in which he played the doomed Tim Ifield, it would have been chilling. Here it is an endearing character quirk. And Jason is quite superb. I mean, he's, I think, one of the finest actors in the country by a long way. I've heard him described as a character actor, but that's an old-fashioned term now. He just imbues all his characters with such depth and humour, and I mean, he can just run the range. He's quite superb and a lovely man to boot. Not many people know that tragically he lost a child to sepsis years ago, and over that time he's had the courage with his wife to talk eloquently about it whenever possible to help others who may have been through such a tragic thing themselves. But he is certainly one of my favourite actors, and this is yet another wonderful role for him, which he just, it's just terrific. Look, I'm running out of superlatives. There we go. I'll carry on with Rebecca Nicholson. This is very much not Line of Duty. In fact, the first episode is more Midsummer Murders. 5 firm, fast and famous friends go up in a hot air balloon. That sounds a bit Ian McEwan-y. Only 4 of them safely reach the ground. The survivors claim it was an accident, then that it was a case of suicide as an act of chivalry. The balloon was too heavy and someone had to go over to save them all from impending death. But the body and several irregularities in the balloon suggest that there is far more to it than that, as do the variously cold or delighted reactions of those left behind. So the relationship between the lead anchors, the madcap nature of it all is very nice indeed. For a while it becomes McDonald and Dodds and Gilbert as the duo expands to a trio. As the death is involved, a hot air balloon expert and air accident investigator is tasked with sending a report about it to the Home Office, and who better to play such a character than the mighty Rob Brydon, who plays Roy Gilbert. The first person to say surfing the net without irony since 2009. Like Dodds, he knows when health and safety procedures have been followed and when they have been thwarted. His expertise is invaluable. Now, the appeal of McDonald's and Dodds, and I think Rebecca Nicholson's got this spot on, lies in how it spreads its charms. Bath looks lovely. The Bath is where it's filmed, obviously, from the air and on the ground. And the eponymous duo are great, balancing each other's flaws. I found the plot complicated enough not to guess who was responsible until a good way into the episode, which is becoming increasingly rare. Sometimes a lightness of touch sits uncomfortably in a crime drama, but the fact that this doesn't take itself too seriously really works. It is neat and it is clever, with an appealing Dodds-esque eye for the finer details. There we are. So that's McDonald's and Dodds with the excellent Tala Gouveia and Jason Watkins and a host of wonderful guest stars. In the first episode, anyway, you have Rupert Graves on free transfer from Sherlock Holmes and Baker Street. You have Patsy Kensit, you have Kathy Tyson, the marvellous Kathy Tyson, and you have Martin Kemp, who played the 4 balloonists who end up in a little bit of trouble. So there we go. Watch it. I think Sunday nights, 8 o'clock. Must-see television. And it goes along with what we were saying last week, wasn't it, Adam, about ITV sort of becoming the home of crime drama. They tend to be specialising. A bit like a publisher who suddenly goes, oh, I'll tell you what, let's actually push our crime thriller genre more than our romance and what have you. And they seem to be doing an excellent job of it, I have to say, with Unforgotten going out last week, which is peerless, and followed now by McDonald and Dodds. So ITV3 for those 2 series are must-watches, I think, for the next few weeks.
Excellent, yes. I liked your free transfer reference, the little football reference there.
Is that what I said? I forget as soon as
on a
I'm
free
gone.
transfer. We're not spoken about football in a while, actually. Are you still into into your
yes,
football?
of
You're
course.
following
Yeah,
it?
yes.
Lads,
yes, I
lads,
did.
and all that?
Well, my daughter's boyfriend comes around. He's a mad Manchester United supporter. And I do like Manchester United. I'm a West Ham fan, and aren't they doing well? But as I said last week, I'm not tribal about it. I'll watch any good match of any sport, really. I love rugby and I love cricket and what have you. But I'm certainly into putting up my soccer socks this season and enjoying it. So Man U 0-0 against Chelsea at the weekend, yes, I'm enjoying the game. Very funny watching it without crowds. And of course, people who do follow the sport or any sport know that on the television you can either watch it without any false crowds because they put a backtrack. They underscore it with very cleverly, really, with a live audience who
30 seconds after the goal.
How they managed to get them to time ooh and ah hey at the right time, I have no idea, but they do it superbly. And I have to say, if you watch it without the audience, it's a little spooky. And you begin to understand how strange it must be for those players who usually go out in front of 20, 30, 40, 50, 70,000 people, and the sheer energy that crowd generates, which will lift their game, to actually go out there in a sort of without any of that atmosphere or energy coming at you. It must be very, very strange. So anyway, the end point I'm trying to make is I turn the false underscoring. It's like false clapping in a sitcom that they used to put in, and the laughing and all that sort of thing, just when they thought people should be laughing at home and there wasn't a laugh in the studio audience on the night. So yes, this is a canned atmosphere, I guess, is what you call it. And it works for me. It's marvellous. I open a bottle of non-alcoholic lager and enjoy the shouting at the screen.
Good. Well, I'm quite happy on that front. My team, Arsenal, we've been kind of going through a bit of a bad patch. We've last couple of games, last 2 or 3 games, been getting back to our old habits we used to have under Arsene Wenger of having a dreadful start to a match, going 1-0 down, and then coming back and winning, which is something that we used to do a lot under Arsene Wenger. But then again, if the success comes back as well, then I'm happy. Wenger boys are back in town and all that.
Well, do you know what? Playing good football, I mean, they play at such speed. And another thing is, I'm learning an awful lot because I really haven't followed the game at all. I used to go watch my dad play, but he played most sports, unlike his firstborn, who played none, really, and still plays none.
There we are. Anyway,
the football is much heavier,
I'm
apparently.
sure.
No, this is quite interesting. Yeah, yes. Partners in Sport. Hi, welcome to Partners in Sport. This week we're doing a run-up of the FA Cup Challenge and the European Championships. I've gone already. It's so unauthentic. I don't even know the name of the cups. Anyway, there we are. All I was going to say is that they used to play with hard balls.
Yes, over to Kenny Sansom at Anfield.
Yeah.
Right, in the news this week, outside of football, Bloody Scotland have launched a virtual book club. The Bloody Scotland Crime Festival will be launching International Book Club to be broadcast via Facebook Live.
Oh.
It's being hosted in the absence of a physical literary festival this spring. Launches on the 31st of March at 7 p.m, by which time we should be in my garden, Bob. And thereafter will take place on the last Wednesday of every month, according to an article in the Bookseller this week. There'll be rotating hosts and a variety of journalists, bloggers, podcasters and booksellers. It has its own dedicated Facebook page where crime fans can chat in an open forum moderated by the Bloody Scotland team. Facebook page is called the Bloody Scotland Book Club and can be accessed as well from the existing Bloody Scotland Facebook page. So do go and check that out. On which note, as well, we mentioned a couple of times Granite Noir in previous episodes up in Aberdeen there, Bob, which is had its digital festival this year, of course, due to COVID-19, people not being able to go there. That's happened. It's welcomed guests from across the globe on its entirely virtual debut. They were forced to take the show online, of course, due to restrictions, but thousands have tuned in to catch some of the best international and homegrown talent speaking. There were both live and pre-recorded conversations with authors, panel discussions, creative workshops, and events for young people. It's all completely free to view, and still is, in fact. It's thought to have been viewed live alone by more than 14,000 people. and organisers expect that number to continue to rise as it can now be watched on demand. So amazing, really, when you put it online, how it's even more popular than the physical event. I suppose anybody can go to it now, can't they? You haven't got to try and make your way to Aberdeen.
Open up all sorts of things. It's like people, on one level, like saying, we don't want to go back to the office. We're quite happy at home. We're getting all the work done. It's absolutely fine. Why go through all that extra thing of travelling? Well, I love festivals. You love festivals, and I do like the act of going somewhere different and visit. It's a little mini. It's a busman's holiday.
Yeah, but there are people there.
There are people there. You can fully interact.
No, that's why I don't go.
Well, I think what will happen, there'll be something between the two, and there already has been. I know that they were available online. Festivals had their festivals online long before, but maybe they've got many more fans of that particular thing. So people who can't make it, or people who didn't even know it was on, will be able to see it. So they'll be able to maybe double the size of the numbers who actually enjoy the festival and get to talk and hear their favourite authors and discover new ones. But there's nothing. You go to Harrogate, for the Thigstons. It's absolutely wonderful. You go to Morecambe, it's great. But there's so many of these excellent specialised crime noir, as many of them are called, which are just brilliant. You turn up and
quite a lot of them have streamed
meet
stuff
people face to face. Yeah,
they've streamed stuff or put it online afterwards or put clips up. They're live tweeting it as things are going on anyway through these things normally. So I know whenever I'm at one of these festivals or on a panel or something, you come off afterwards, you look at your phone and you've got about 56 Twitter notifications where you've been sort of tagged in while you're talking and pictures of you doing it and everything. So yeah, there is a live virtual remote aspect to these festivals anyway. So I think building up that kind of hybrid approach as a way forward is probably going to be a really good thing.
And also, it's wonderful for people who actually can't go for whatever reason that may be, that they can actually go. But coming back to the Scotland thing, there's no question. We've mentioned this so many times on the show, and actually, apropos of nothing, it was very nice to see a picture of Val McDermid on University Challenge last night. I'm going to leave that as a mystery. If you want to know what a picture of Val McDermid was doing on University Challenge, catch up on iPlayer this week. Over Hadrian's Wall, there's a real love of the genre, isn't there? I think if you compared it to the rest of the UK, you'd probably find, and I could be very wrong here, and someone will be shouting at their computers listening to this, that probably there's more enthusiasm for crime drama, crime thrillers in Scotland per do they say capita? I don't know. Than any other person, any other area of the country, which is great, and also begs the question, why?
There we go. We'll answer that question. Some other time, perhaps. We can get very deep into that, couldn't we, without preparation? I noticed in the news this week on list.co.uk, read it from cover to cover, every week, of course. Never heard of it. John Simm was talking about Grace, the ITV drama coming up next month, we think, or later this month. I can't remember.
Well, it was advertised on television. They've got the clips, and very, very slick it looks too. I know Peter's going to be thrilled with that. In fact, he was tweeting this week and saying that he was absolutely delighted with what he'd seen so far. And I have to say, the compilation that they put together last night on ITV looked very impressive indeed. Once again, ITV sort of doing the crime drama thing. Yeah, indeed.
These are Peter James's Roy Grace books, which are being adapted for TV. This is the first one with John Simm, and he's come out this week and said that, as you would expect, after the last year, he hopes that ITV adapt all 17 books so far, and he's hoping he has a job for life in Roy Grace. He said it was manna from heaven getting a call offering him the part, which he now hopes is a job for life, but that he hadn't actually read any of the series beforehand because he's not, shock horror, not a big fan of crime fiction. How very dare he.
Bum, bum, bum.
Peter James has said that John Simm's portrayal of Roy Grace when he writes new books is what he has in his mind when he's writing on them now. John said, that's a real honour if he's thinking of me. It's really odd as well because I'm so into these books and the character and this character that I don't think of me when I'm reading them. John has said he reckons some fans of the novels will be up in arms over the TV adaptation that, Kel surprise. It's always the case.
Well, they have the right to be purists, and why not? I mean, it's happened on every sort of detective series that's been taken from books on television, going through Morse back to Frost and what have you. So, that's what happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this a couple of times, haven't we? But there's obviously reasons why the TV series and film adaptations are not going to be like the books, of two reasons. First of all, the book is in your head, dear reader, so no film director or TV executive producer is going to be able to access that. And the mediums are just different, aren't they? There are things you can do in a book that you can't do on TV and have to be done differently. You can't follow a character's internal monologue and what have you, and you've got to structure around advert breaks and episode ends and hit certain points at certain times. They're different structures, I guess, aren't they?
Well, and also you're giving your book over to someone else to adapt, because there are very few writers of the original stories that actually adapt. It's a very different skill, and most novelists will actually just say it's a skill that we happily give over to someone who's expert at it. And I can only see from my own experience. I can remember seeing an adaptation written, a very good adaptation of my first book, the novella The Rock, and it was it was the same, but it was very different. And I can remember thinking, well, this is great. So it's someone else's interpretation of something you've done, and you've got to give it up. The thing with the Grace series, of course, is Peter is a producer in his own right. He was a film producer for many years, and I know that he's tried to bring Grace to the screen on several occasions over the last decade and a half, and met with problems on all those for different reasons. But also he understands very, very well what goes on in the world of transferring the written book into the medium of film and screen. So that, I think, will be a big help with this series, because he knows. And the fact that he's already said, I'll tell you what, Mr. Simm is now, in my mind, my Grace. How many of his readers follow him in that direction, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if they feel so strongly about it, they won't watch the television, or they can enjoy both for very different reasons. There still will be the books for the absolute purists who want to stay that way. But I think it's a great thing, and I have to say it does look absolutely splendid. So maybe that's going to be ITV's hat trick of successful crime dramas this year. So let's hope so. Anyway,
I think so, yeah. I can see what he means though about it influencing your writing, because I mean, going back a fair few years, you played one of my characters, Kempston Hardwick, in audio dramatisations.
Yes,
there.
I did,
and
had
you know
a
what?
lovely time.
The cast there, the Hardwick and Flint, were not as I had envisaged them writing the books. I'd had them, in fact, in a kind of a Morse-like sense. I'd had them the other way round, age-wise, and various other things. But ever since then, every book has been written entirely with you in my ear as Kempston.
God, I'm sorry.
And Steve in my ear as Ellis. So
that's a lovely compliment.
That's
nice. Well, I'm sure John Simm feels exactly the same.
He likes Kempston Hardwick as well.
Well, he'd make a very good Kempston Hardwick. But that's good to hear. That's good to hear. So, where are we on time?
Well, while we're talking about the books, the Peter James books and various other ones, we have actually touched slightly on the crime fiction in a book sense for the first time in quite a few episodes, probably. I should probably mention that Partners in Crime is gratefully sponsored by Kobo, which is one of the world's largest ebook retailers. And as a listener to Partners in Crime, you lucky little devil you can get a massive 90% off of your first ebook purchase from Kobo. You don't need an e-reader or special device. They are excellent though, so I would highly recommend you do add that to your birthday Christmas list. You can read on your phone or tablet if you like. Just head over to kobo.com, enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout for your 90% off of that first book. And if you're an existing Kobo customer, or if you've used that code before, then follow the link in the show notes and use the promo code PARTNERS to get 40% off of selected ebook purchases for life. Something else we were talking about, Bob, before the episode, and which I'm going to tie in here as well. While you're on Kobo, do go and check out their audiobooks. They are absolutely brilliant. They've launched recently, Kobo's audiobooks. And in the last couple of weeks, 2 of mine have landed on there. The first 2 in the Rutland Crime series, What Lies Beneath and On Borrowed Time, which have been narrated by the wonderful Andy Nyman, who's in the current series of Unforgotten and has done Peaky Blinders and various other things. So do go and grab those and have a look. They're brilliant. Very pleased with those. So, have you been reading at all this week, Bob, or have you, like me, not had the
I haven't
space
had
and
a
the time?
chance, really. I mean, I've been sort of writing, which is caught me by surprise. Really, in this strange house of study, because Amy's taking a course, so she's got one of the laptops. Well, we're out of laptops, really. I mean, that, many people, so many households are lucky to have one at all. But
how do you live on the breadline there, Bob?
Well, I don't know. Oh, well, tell me about it. It's been quite a strange year that way. But no. So it's not just that. It's not laptops. It's just running out of Wi-Fi puff, really, that I've sort of struggled with, and trying to find the space, because in between O-level geography and A-level politics and Amy's course and doing the other things that she does online, there's not much room to squeeze in a small one. But at last I've managed to sort of timetable a little bit of time and get back to writing, which I'm thoroughly enjoying, which is great. But one thing that did come up, I was going to go into detail. I've been looking at my phone this episode because there's I read something earlier and I can't find it. It's Line of Duty. There is a podcast about Line of Duty.
Okay.
Which has been run alongside the series in the past, and it's coming back again with a new series. So it's, ITV haven't got it all their own way. BBC are coming back with Line of Duty, and it's being hosted by the actor who played Cotton in the first few series. The baddie. What's his name? Wonderful actor. It's completely escaped me. This is I'm suffering from.
I do. Yeah, I do know. I can see who you mean. He's been in so many things, hasn't he?
Yes, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Anyway, for the first time, he's going to be. People will know who watch Line of Duty will know what I'm talking about, and they'll be the only one interested in this particular.
Craig Parkinson.
Craig Parkinson. How did I let that one slip? Anyway, Craig Parkinson, who everyone knows was an absolutely wonderful rotter, played the part superbly. He's going to be hosting this podcast about Line of Duty, week by week, following the series as it plays on the television, trying to figure out what happens next, trying to second guess the plot lines, all those sort of things, and talking to guests who've been associated with Line of Duty, both past and present, and taking you through it. So I think that's going to be an absolute must podcast for anyone who loves the mighty Mr. Mercurio's work, and of course Line of Duty in particular, with Craig Parkinson.
I found it, by the way. It's called Obsessed with Line of Duty, and that's on BBC. Oh, dropped my pen there, on BBC Sounds. Obsessed with Line of Duty.
You see, we're not the only podcast in town.
No, there we go. Handy having an iPad here where I can. Yes, no, there are lots of great podcasts out there. In fact, one which it does lead me on to actually, presented by Linda LaPlante. She's got her forensics podcast, Listening to the Dead, which is highly recommended. She was speaking in the Yorkshire Post to Hannah Stevenson about lots of things, actually. She, obviously a former actress from Liverpool, everybody knows Linda LaPlante. She's been a guest on Partners in Crime before. Creator of Prime Suspect and Widows, author of the novelisation,
producer as well. So she, she's run she knows everything about the business. So that's why so many of her adaptations have been so successful on television and film.
Yes. Yeah, she's been very busy in the last year as well. She's written 2 books during the pandemic. Judas Horse, the second in a new series featuring hapless detective Jack War, and a new young Jane Tennyson novel, Unholy Murder, which is out in the summer. On Wednesday, she launched the second series of that podcast, Listening to the Dead. Prime Suspect 1973, which features the young Jane Tennyson, was, of course, a TV adaptation. In 2017, she fell out with ITV executives after that, and it was axed after 1 series, but she's continued with the books, which are doing very well indeed. And Blunt Force, number 6 in the series, is about to come out in paperback. So, yeah, very interesting article there in the Yorkshire Post. They cover lots of ground, but they're the bits that we're interested in.
Well, Linda's
there.
fantastic. I mean, she's a force of nature and absolutely brilliant. And what she doesn't know about all aspects of crime fiction through on all mediums is not really worth knowing. She's absolutely terrific.
And a great guest as well, isn't she? She can talk for ages. She's very, very interesting. And I think we had an absolute blast when we spoke to her. I think that was on... which September 2018 we spoke to her, apparently, according to this.
Well, it was a great show, and one of the things that came through, apart from her passion for what she does, and a great tip for anyone who's writing or whatever, was her love for research.
Yeah.
She just said she loved that aspect of the work almost more than anything else. Going to places, finding out, talking to people, talking to experts, talking to ordinary people, getting all the stuff that she needs together to be able to write authentically about the things that she writes about. And I found that very inspiring. She's a very inspiring listen. So yeah, listen to that if you want to listen to the great Linda LaPlante.
Do. Yeah, I'm just trying to find out what the episode was, what the episode title number was. And I'm struggling. Had one. Oh yeah, number 35. If you want
number
to,
35.
to go back there.
We need to have a guest again. Do we not? I mean, we stopped.
Yeah.
A while back because of basically technical things and various other things, and just sheer our lives were so busy that actually managing to do that was proving a little bit of a stretch. But maybe we should look into having a monthly special guest on the show again. What do you think? We're just having a production meeting, everyone.
Yeah, no, it is.
At home.
It is planned. It's the move to video made things a bit more tricky, especially seeing as we're remote now as well, and we're having to do things remotely. But yeah, we're hoping that within the next few weeks we'll be able to get back together.
It's the Merlin of the podcasting world, Adam Croft.
Okay. No, we will be doing more of those, and we're going to get to Mr. Moriarty to help organise and sort out the logistics of that once the technical side of things is a bit more simple. Once we're back together, I think is the easy answer there.
Well, I suppose it's about time that we came to the end of this particular podcast and hand over to the travel news. So until we meet again, I suppose this is au revoir, apart from arsenic and old lace, which is what we do after I've made my next cup of coffee. Yep. We're going to go and do that. So if you want to listen or watch Partners in Crime, Arsenic and Old Lace, then do follow the link in the show notes, head over to Patreon, and I think subscribers on some of the levels of that get access to it. So there we go. And keep your emails coming as well, because we like those. If you've got any questions or insults that you want to throw at us, our portals are open. And all the details are on partnersincrime.online, which is our website, which has been recently redone. Oh, has it? Nice. Yes. Simplified. See? Daws, finger on the pulse, as always.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Daws and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.